think there's no better place to be, and we could probably speak for hours on end about the great celebrations, really. Pre-match was very special, Jan, wasn't it, in regards to, I think, the noise as we approach this game. It was always going to be extremely big. The 35-year wait of seeing, for a lot of Liverpool fans, I'm 30 anyway, but there's been a 35-year generation of Liverpool supporters from around the world that have not seen Liverpool actually get over the line at Anfield, and just we do it our way, don't we? Yeah, it's the Liverpool way, and you certainly would have experienced that as a player, and especially now being a fan. It's what we thought, and obviously in terms of coming into the game, mate, how did you enjoy
first, Jack?
Yeah,
I can't believe you weren't born when we won the league in 1990. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was strolling around in midfield wearing that number famous 7. You know, when the King didn't play often, I got the pleasure of wearing that number. Anyway, so last Sunday against Spurs, it was a bit low key for me actually. I was in Denmark on a Thursday. I attended a dart event on the Friday back in Liverpool. On a Saturday was my grandson's birthday, and then all of a sudden Sunday was there. And I got to Anfield. I hadn't even given any thought as such. But as soon as you got anywhere near Anfield, it was like, wow, you know, what's going on here? It was just unreal. You obviously expected something, isn't it? But, and I'm talking about me getting to the ground 3.5, 4 hours before the game. And you were just met by noise. You were met by red shirts everywhere. It was just incredible. And I thought, wow. We managed to get ourselves up to the stadium inside to the media lounge, and everybody was already in place. I remember the fella on the gate as we walked into the media lounge. He said, "Yeah," he said, "It's 3.5 hours before the game. We've had 248 media guys inside already." Just to give you an idea of, you know, everybody was there. You know, so yeah, it was absolutely quite incredible. And then you have all the former players who'd never played for Liverpool. We were there covering and working for whoever they're working for, isn't it? You know, they're all asking, aren't you, what's this like? I said, well, obviously the difference is that when we played, we never saw the scenes outside as such. And I said, but I think it's fair to say I've never seen anything like it. It was quite remarkable. And of course, that carried on right the way through. And, you know, our manager stayed, you know, I think I stayed 45 minutes, an hour after in my position on the gantry, being able to, I mean, obviously, great position, great view, being able to see it all, isn't it? Yeah, it was spectacular, absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, you would have played in many of the great atmospheres as a player. How does that rank in terms of, obviously, a lot of people coming out the grounds, people that went to game, even me doing a watch along anyway. Was that, obviously watching as a fan in the gantry, was that one of the biggest atmospheres that you've ever experienced? Of course, the Barcelona night as well. Legendary game against Chelsea in the semi-finals against Jose Mourinho with Rafa. Where does that rank for you in regards to the afternoon? Of course, it's going to be a lot more noisy in a couple of weeks when we lift the trophy anyway, but how does that rank?
So I thought it's probably one of the best atmosphere I've ever experienced at Anfield. But and don't take it the wrong way, but it, as such, it wasn't a football atmosphere, was it? It was a celebration atmosphere. You know, so when you play Chelsea, which arguably is the best atmosphere I've ever experienced at Anfield in 2005, Barcelona, even the Borussia Dortmund game, you have jeopardy, don't you? You know, the game's on a knife edge, so there's a different atmosphere. Whereas on Sunday, you know, even when we went, and I actually think going 1-0 down helped the game because then we just had to open up and go for it. So it was almost like a pouring out of relief, wasn't it? But I have to say, in terms of the noise was incredible. And strangely enough, Tuesday morning, I spoke to my next door neighbour, and he said, "I've been to doctors with my ears." He said, after Anfield on Sunday, he said, "I've never heard noise like it." So yeah, it was that kind of happy, non-stop noise because people by then knew, didn't they? You know, it's done and dusted, isn't it? So there is different type of football atmosphere when the game is jeopardy and, you know, it's on a knife edge and whatever. It wasn't quite like that on Sunday, but the noise was deafening. And the atmosphere before the game, very rarely you see Anfield sort of building up towards kickoff as early as they did on Sunday. And then, of course, it was only natural that people would stay at the end and and joining the celebrations. But there's going to be plenty more. Well, there's going to be a couple more occasions where you can join in celebrating the title, the Arsenal game, and of course we've got the trophy lift, and I believe we've also got a parade going on, Jack.
Yeah, just a little one anyway. Just a little one. Sure, everyone watching or listening will be descending on Merseyside on the bank holiday Monday as well. But yeah, I think I've seen somewhere today on X in terms of a post or social media post from someone, 1.7 on the Richter scale in terms of the sheer magnitude and which is phenomenal. But we know, as you said, Jan, that was a special night against Chelsea. Listening and watching all the documentaries, and everyone spoke about that night quite famously anyway in regards to that one as well. So it's going to be interesting in that regard, mates. But yeah, special time, and what a time to very much be a Red, mate. Just touching on obviously the game as well. I think that the game very much did get not forgotten, but I think it was a very special game. So I think Mac Allister's goal, I think obviously on my watch along, it was Macca's first, I think, a strike of that nature to get it over the line. Yeah, but what was your analysis in regards to obviously the game on Sunday, mate?
So obviously, let's deal with the fact that we played Tottenham in the game. We had to win the title.
Yeah.
I don't think he could have picked a better opposition because of the way Tottenham play. They have no defensive structure as such. They don't play with a low block or a mid block. They just play, which was always going to be ideal. And when I said before, it was almost ideal to go 1-0 down because you knew it would just keep coming. We just had to find our form, and then we'd run all over them. And they just couldn't cope with what we were doing. Spurs will point to the fact that they left quite a few of their key players out. I was actually surprised. I thought they might have got a bit stronger because, but it's all very good wanting to save players.
Bit of consistency, maybe. I thought maybe a bit of consistency.
You have to find a bit of form, don't you? So their players are back from injury, and most of them are not playing well. And they've got 2, possibly 3 games to save the season in the Europa League, because then, just like Manchester United they've actually got a bit of a backdoor entrance, possibly into the Champions League, haven't they? If they should win the Europa League. But in the end, 5-1. Flat at Spurs. There's no doubt about that. I believe the biggest home win against Spurs was back in the 70s when the team beat them 7-0. Had we needed 7 goals on Sunday, we'd have scored 7. So it was pretty much Mac Allister. I mean, what a great strike that was with his left foot. We don't see many goals anymore from outside the box, but it was a great strike. Took the roof off, but so did everything else. You know, it was just, as I said before, it was just one of those celebratory atmospheres.
Yeah, obviously, if anyone's been living under a rock anyway, obviously it was that Luis Diaz 16 on the 16th minute anyway, Mac Allister 24th, Gakpo, and of course Salah, and then Undogi. A lot of people that do play fantasy football, Jan, I think were very disappointed that Salah didn't get a little toe on that. I think it was on the replay. He was telling the lads to be quiet, but I was like, no, it's too many cameras in the ground. You're not getting away with that, mate. Not quite Harry Kane anyway. Famously trying to claim a Tottenham goal all those years ago. But yeah, it's an interesting one, Tottenham, in it, Jan, in terms of you analyse them, and obviously perfect game, really. I think Liverpool have scored 15 goals past them already this season. They play into Liverpool's hands, high line, crazy football. And Postecoglou really, certain moments, for me, I feel, doesn't really adapt in certain moments, a bit like similar in regards to Brendan Rodgers in terms of his management sometimes, but obviously you can still learn. And as Ange did say last season, I do always win a trophy in my second season, and he could be right as well. But Liverpool, mate, we'll speak a bit later on in regards to the next evolution of this Liverpool side. But we've just got to speak about the current quality on display, because I think one name for me is obviously Salah and Van Dijk do, of course, get quite a lot of the plaudits, and rightly so. They lead the team, but a lad that leads is international stage. Well, we know we've got lots of leaders from an international stage, but a certain Argentinian maestro at the heart of Liverpool's midfield, that for me is my favourite player this season in regards. But for many, he's been an absolute revelation since he's come to the Premier League from Brighton. But How have you analysed his game in terms, especially this season, and obviously just a little bit on obviously Sunday's game, because that just goes to show for me, I don't know how you feel, Jan, or anyone watching or listeners, that takes a lot of mentality to drag, because we've seen Liverpool over certain years under Jurgen Klopp where we haven't quite got over the line in big moments, but Mac Allister, he exudes quality. He's got his class. How good is he for you? He's got everything in his locker for me.
I mean, if we deal with the game on Sunday first, I just thought that he was like so keen and adamant to have a say. This is the day. So they're kind of the things that you remember, isn't it? If you remember back, this is the day that we won the league. Who scored the goal? People remember these things. In another 50 or 100 years, nobody would have been to that game that's still alive. So people would talk about who scored. So it looked like Mac Allister thought, I'm going to etch myself into the history of the Liverpool Football Club here. On the day that we win the Premier League in front of a full house, people are never going to be able to forget me. So obviously with the goal, but he wanted more goals. If you looked at him in the second half, isn't he? He was maybe a little bit greedy on a couple of occasions, isn't he? But he went, I'm going to have a play here. But yeah, he is. We obviously spoke quite a bit about it in the last few days or so about who's been the outstanding performers for Liverpool, and obviously Alisson when he's played.
Iman Keller played, I think, similar amounts of games, but Alisson at the back end of the moment, he's special.
You just know, don't you? And Van Dijk, right this moment in time, you couldn't imagine a Liverpool team without Van Dijk. And then you got Mo, and if anyone's in doubt about Mo, you look at his stats and his goal involvement is right up there. But in terms of my type of player, I'm a Mac Allister lover, that type of player. The people that play as much of the game inside the head as they do visually for people to see. Some players play in a way that it's easy for everyone to see what it is that they do. And I always use Jamie Carragher as an example. Everybody knew what Jamie did because it was all last-minute tackles and winning headers and slide tackles and whatever. Some of the things, and a lot of things Mac Allister do, a lot of people don't notice. Because it's a chess game. He plays a chess game, doesn't he? He plays a chess game with the ball or a chess game without the ball. And he's very good at creating space for teammates, creating space for himself, creating a bit of time to play that pass. Add to that, that he's a tough little cookie.
He's taken some absolute volumes this season, hasn't he? But it's part and parcel when you're a midfielder. But he's especially when he plays on an international stage. But he's, as you say, you were a tempo setter at the heart of Liverpool's midfield. You were someone that orchestrates Liverpool's attacks. Under your, obviously won the league 3 times, so you know everything about it, mate, as well. But it's it's the main thing. I don't know.
It's important. It's important, Jack. It's important, isn't it? I remember when you mentioned Brendan Rodgers before, and this was at the time in the Premier League where we were talking about that type of a player, a deep line midfield player, and he signed Joe Allen from Swansea, and I remember what he said. I remember what he said at the time. He said he's going to be my glue, he's going to be my tempo setter. He's going to dictate things in there. Unfortunate, Joe was maybe just a level below what was required to play for a team that was going to compete for the Premier League, isn't it? But Mac Allister is that in a different way, in that he isn't a deep line playing midfielder. He's more a number 8. He's a little bit further forward, but he's capable of playing all over the pitch. He's capable of taking the ball in tight spaces. He's capable of playing in between the lines. He's a super player. And the one thing he is, and he's obviously not been given a chance to prove that in Liverpool because of Mo Salah, but he's an unbelievable penalty taker, isn't he? I think he's took 9.
Yeah.
I think he's took 9 penalties in his Premier League career and scored all of them, isn't it? So yeah, he's just a very, very good player. Less and less people are now doubting him, isn't there? There was a few people saying, but nobody can doubt him and his ability this ability to do the right thing.
That's so difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But we all watch the game, don't we, Jack? And we shout and we scream and go, play it here, do this and do that, isn't it? And you just get the feeling that Mac Allister running at roughly 95% of great decisions. That's how good he is. He just makes the right decisions all the time.
Yeah, the pre-assists, the assists as well. They're so important as well. And we've seen obviously his emotion on the bench as well, and obviously Liverpool TVs or long cut, which was made up. I think everyone has watched the whole 2.5 hours. We've certainly maybe a couple of Reds out there might put it on the work TVs or whatever. And your fellow Mancunian work colleagues or whatnot probably weren't best too pleased anyway. But we'll enjoy it. As Jan said before, it's a free week. It's a celebration for the next 4 weeks, and then obviously you know what's coming. And